So basically, MRI works by using powerful magnets and radio waves. Okay, there are two things you mentioned about, and our body has abundant amount of hydrogen atom, and due to water, they behave like tiny magnet. When placed in a magnetic field, they are aligned. Okay, when they placed, okay, they will align. A radio frequency pulse knocks out of alignment, and as they return, they emit signal. These signals are picked up by the coils, and the machine uses mathematical techniques, especially Fourier transforms, actually, to convert those signals into spatial data. So this result is a detailed map of tissue after processing.
You've got it. Essentially, those returning signals each have a frequency that depends on where they came from in the body. The Fourier transform is what lets the machine decode those frequencies into a clear image, so each spot in the scan corresponds to a specific point inside you. In the end, that's how we get those detailed tissue contrasts.
No, but okay, that is okay. But you mentioned about two things, powerful magnet and radio waves. What was that?
Right, the powerful magnet is what creates a strong, stable magnetic field. That field causes hydrogen nuclei to align. Then the radio waves, the pulses, push those aligned nuclei out of their alignment. When they relax back, they emit the signals that the machine reads. So the magnet sets the stage, and the radio waves prompt the action that we measure.
The field causes hydrogen nuclei to align. Then the radio waves, the pulse, push those aligned nuclei out of their alignment. So one question like, see, these radio waves uh, are the things that reaction force like thing that captured.
In a way, yes, you can think of it like that. The radio waves give the hydrogen nuclei a nudge, and when they settle back to alignment, they release a signal. That release signal is what we capture. So the pulse triggers a response, and the machine reads that response like an echo after giving a push.
So basically, we are passing two things to the human body.
Exactly. The magnetic field sets the environment, and the radio pulses provide the temporary push. The body's response to that combination is what lets us see inside. So it's a dynamic dance between these two elements.
But how that dynamics dance is being observed? Okay, basically magnetic field is passed, and then the water molecules act like a magnet. Inside that, a radio pulse is again passed. Can you explain this bit more clear?
Sure. First, the strong magnetic field makes the hydrogen nuclei line up like compass needles. Now we send in a quick radio pulse. That pulse tips those tiny compasses out of alignment. As they wobble back into line, they give off faint signals like little radio waves themselves. Coils placed around you catch those signals. Then the machine uses math to figure out exactly where each signal came from, forming a 3D picture of your insides.
Okay, that captured radio waves are the real data that we take, and how that real data is being captured.
Yes, exactly. The signals those nuclei emit are the raw data. Coils around you act like antennas, capturing those faint signals from different angles. These signals are then processed using mathematical algorithms, especially Fourier transforms, to map out where inside your body those signals came from. Once processed, that data becomes an image of your internal tissues.
So that angle is very important from which, so the data collection is very important. So that and the Fourier transfer further adds more thing.
Exactly. The angles are key. By capturing signals from multiple directions, the machine gathers a full picture of the entire region. The Fourier transform is what turns those signals, basically frequency data, into a spatial image. It's the combination of different angles and this mathematical conversion that gives you that crisp MRI scan.
So are those magnets are hydrogen atom nuclei or the proton?
Those magnets are actually the protons in the hydrogen nuclei. Since hydrogen has one proton, it's like a tiny spinning magnet. The MRI uses this property, aligning and nudging those protons to get the signals we need for imaging.
So how that is possible? Okay, we first of all we make magnet actually inside our whole human body at the tissue level or cellular level you are talking about.
Yes, at the tiniest scale, each hydrogen nucleus, just a single proton, behaves like a tiny magnet. When you've got trillions of them in your tissues, they collectively align in the strong magnetic field. So we're literally using the magnetic properties of your body's own protons at a cellular level to build the image.
So first they make magnet and they pass a radio wave, but that radio wave should also be in that range so that it goes to that magnet level, or that radio waves catches that magnetic field like things.
Exactly. The radio waves are tuned precisely to the natural frequency of those protons in the magnetic field. This is called the resonance frequency. So when the pulse hits, it's at just the right energy to interact with those aligned protons, nudging them. That's how we get them to respond and emit signals we can capture.
Okay, so whole body whole body the radio waves are being passed. So and after that the reaction force, how that reaction force is captured and why the reaction is there. So when they reorient, first they orient due to magnetic field, and then that proton or the magnet will reorient, and after during the reorientation they emit another radio waves, and that is the data we capture.
You've got it. When the pulse stops, those protons relax back to their aligned state. During that relaxation, they release energy in the form of radio signals. That's the reaction we're capturing. The coils detect these returning signals, and from their strength and timing, the machine calculates the position and type of tissue. That's how the image is formed.
Okay, the coil detect this returning signal. Okay, that is very complicated task to perform, and then machine calculates the position and the type of tissue. How that thing? How did machine calculate its position and the type of tissue? Based on the type of tissue, they map. Also, they might have the previous things so that they are mapping in the similar way. Actually.
It's all about how the signals vary. Different tissues, like fat, muscle, or fluid, cause the protons to relax at different rates. These differences affect the timing and strength of the signals. By comparing how signals change across many measurements, the machine uses complex algorithms to reconstruct the location of each tiny signal. By combining all of that, it builds a map of what's where and distinguishes tissue types based on those relaxation patterns. No past scan needed. Each scan is fresh data.
Oh, they have actually the real relaxation time for all those different parts, and based on that, they map.
Exactly. Each tissue type has characteristic relaxation times. We call them T1 and T2. The machine knows these patterns, so when it measures how long signals take to fade, it maps out what's fat, muscle, fluid, and so on. That's how you get those beautiful contrasts and a clear, recognizable image.
What about how how?
You've really followed the whole picture. MRI is this elegant blend of physics and math, magnetically nudging protons and decoding their signals. And that's how you get those detailed tissue images without even making a cut.
So when we do Fourier transform, so from frequency domain, that is the thing which then how we do that transformation. Can you make it more clear?
Sure, when we measure those signals, they come in as frequencies, basically how fast the protons wobble. A Fourier transform is a mathematical tool that converts these frequency signals into spatial information, basically mapping which signal came from where. By doing this across multiple angles, the MRI machine builds a spatial map, turning wobbles into a recognizable image of your insides.
So what you are suggesting that no, I ask specifically because Fourier transform has some form like minus infinity to plus infinity that function and some exponential oscillating term. So given the radio wave frequency, we put that into Fourier transform and then what we do, which domain we did transformation and what limit we set.
I see what you mean. In MRI, the raw data is collected in what's called K space. K space is like a frequency and phase map of the signals. The Fourier transform converts K space into the spatial domain. So after the transformation, you get a recognizable image. The limits are based on sampling the signal fully. So it's not from minus to plus infinity in a perfect sense, but enough data points to reconstruct a sharp image. In short, K space in, image out.
What was K space meaning that you mentioned about and then
K-space is just a way of saying it's a grid of raw data from the signals, representing spatial frequencies. Each point in K-space corresponds to a certain spatial frequency in the final image. When we transform K-space to real space, we map these frequency components into actual spatial positions. Once that's done, you have your anatomical image.
okay, that spatial positions. Okay, can you tell me? I think Terence Tao has some work that actually leads to some of the initial development and the mapping of those, collecting that huge amount of radio waves signals and map into a specific data.
Terence Tao is brilliant in pure mathematics, especially analysis, but he's not specifically tied to the development of MRI. The foundations come from earlier pioneers like Paul Lauterbur and Peter Mansfield, who developed spatial encoding and fast imaging. What Tao does, though, is advance our understanding of the deep mathematics, like Fourier analysis and PDEs, that underpin techniques used in imaging. So while he didn't directly shape MRI, his work enriches the math that MRI relies on.
So that Paul and Peter work on spatial encoding and fast imaging technique that help us to capture the whole image.
Exactly. Paul Lauterbur introduced the idea of spatial encoding using magnetic gradients, which lets us figure out where signals come from. Peter Mansfield developed fast imaging techniques, making scans practical and speedy. Their breakthroughs earned them the Nobel Prize. So thanks to them, we can efficiently capture those detailed images of the body.
Tell me one very interesting idea about this MRI.
One fascinating idea is functional MRI, fMRI. It doesn't just show anatomy, it tracks brain activity in real time by detecting blood oxygen changes. When a brain region works harder, it uses more oxygen, and fMRI picks that up. This means we can literally watch which parts of your brain light up when you think, feel, or move, opening windows into how we function and even think.
Oh, what was that issue actually? So here, fMRI is like, okay, we will observe the actually while thinking we will observe which part of the brain is working and we will predict the specific thinking.
It's more nuanced. fMRI shows which regions are more active, using more oxygen, when you're doing a task or thinking about something. It's not mind reading, but it shows patterns of activation we can correlate with functions like memory or vision. It's a powerful tool to see which parts of the brain are involved in different mental processes, helping us map function to structure.
Can you make conclusion what we discuss in this chat?
In short, we've unpacked how MRI works, from aligning tiny hydrogen nuclei with a magnetic field, nudging them with radio waves, and capturing their signals. We transform these signals with math, like the Fourier transform, to create images. Then we touched on fMRI, which tracks brain activity. All in all, MRI blends physics, math, and ingenuity to help us visualize the body, and sometimes even the mind.
Okay, thank you.